What's up, guys? It's your boy Justin back with a comic book review for you guys today. I was going to do Image Month for this year, which we usually do in January, but I couldn't get the comic book I wanted, which was Batman and Spawn, their third crossover, which came out during late December. So we're not going to do Image Month, but I'll review some. In the spirit of Image Month, we'll review some Image comics. And today we're going to review Bloodstrike Issue 1, which came out in 1993. It's the Blood Brothers Prelude, which which is referencing like an event with Bloodstrike and Brigade, both by Rob Liefeld. And as you see here, cool Rob Liefeld cover. And I don't know if you can tell, but like the blood stains on the comic is not just ink, but it's like some kind of texturized thing. Cause like look at this. You see how the glare from the comic, it doesn't cover up the blood stains. It goes like right through it. Right? So it's like, wow, really cool effects they have on the comic, right? But yeah, so I mostly know these guys for the what was it called? Bloodstrike Brutalist series, which came out in 2011, right? Which was done by a different author, right? And they did more. He did a better job of explaining what Bloodstrike is, and that than here. Here they don't really explain what Bloodstrike is, right? Uh, but yeah, so like this is a 1993 comic book by Rob Liefeld, and Dan Fraga also helped. That explained why the backgrounds were so good. I'm like, wow, Rob Liefeld was so much better than in the 90s. It's like, oh no, he had help. Yeah, so it starts off with our main character Cabot, who, as you can see, is Cable clone. A shameless Cable clone, and there's a couple clones in this series, right? And he's like the leader of Bloodstrike, which is in the Brutalist series. Bloodstrike was basically a group of operatives that were reanimated superhumans, which they don't say what his superpower is. I don't think he has a superpower. But yeah, he's the leader, and he's prepping his team for a mission, right, where they're going to attack this facility called Jericho, right? Which here you can see Jericho. It's in Arizona, right? And other members of the team is Deadstrike, which is the Wolverine clone. You have Tag here, whose powers are she can immobilize your body if she touches you. You have Foreplay, which is a four-armed woman, and Shogun, which is which they don't show here, but he's like a Japanese guy in like a armored mecha suit. So they attack the base, right? You have Cabot and Tag attack one side. You have Bloodstrike, Deadlock and Foreplay attack one side, right? And Shogun's doing his own thing. And you have cool two-page spreads, right? And yeah, so they encounter this guy, which could he be any more over the top? Who's he's the commander of Jericho security, which is Commander Corbin, right? And he knows who Cabot is freaked out because because this guy knows who he is, right? So he's like, what the hell? How does this guy know who I am, right? And some really cool shots with Shogun, right? And and the comic is pretty bloody and graphic, as a lot of 90s Image comics are. Like here, this guy's head is gone. You just see the stump of where his head used to be on his neck, right? Yeah. So like, oh, it's like, you know, turns out this guy was a hologram, right? So they have to find him. And one thing you notice right away in this comic is that Shogun changes size a couple of times in the comic book, right? He has Ant-Man, Wasp, changing size changing powers, right? Another thing you notice is Deadlock. I'm sorry, I get the names mixed up. Not only does he look like Wolverine, but he even talks like Wolverine. Like, tell me if that's not something Wolverine would have said. Come on, foreplay, get a move on. I might as well be taking these mutts down all on my lonesome. I mean, we haven't got all night, right, buddy? Like even sounds like Wolverine, right? Especially when I try to do the '90s voice actor impersonation of Wolverine. And here's where the comic gets really fucking stupid, right? Because like, you know, Cabot is like, hey, there's something weird going on in this mission. I think we've been set up because the Commander Corbin knows who I am, right? And he shouldn't, right? And so he was about to take his team and leave because he smells like, yeah, there's something fishy about this mission, right? And then it turns out who shows up in the flesh is Commander Corbin himself, who tells him that he was actually the one who hired these guys to attack his base because his bosses thought he was, you know, fucking around on the job. He was not doing a good job, right? So they were going to fire him. So he gets the idea, I'm going to hire these guys to attack the base and show my bosses I'm still competent by driving them off, right? So before he showed up and revealed his plan. They were going to leave, and his psyop or whatever would have been a success, right? But hearing that they've been set up, right? They decide to kill this guy, especially since he got triggered because he called him insane. It's like, you hired us to attack your own base? That's insane. Insane. My plan is flawless. Only if I failed could you call me insane. I don't intend to fail. And he shoots him, right? But here's where we find out that, you know, that these guys are actually, like, you know, not entirely live, because, you know, Cabot after getting shot in the head, getting shot in the, you know, whatever, maybe the shoulder area, who knows, he gets back up, right? And, you know, they decide to kill this guy, and they demonstrate Tag's power, and they freeze him, and then they have this is where it gets pretty brutal. They have Shogun shoot him dead, and this kind of reminded me of, like, something that you would have seen in Spawn, right? The Todd McFarlane '90s Spawn comics, right? So yeah. So the comic ends with them going home, and then Cabot finding out that his next mission he's going to have to fight a rogue superhuman vigilante group called Brigade, and his brother is the leader of Brigade, right? And it's to be continued, Brigade issue 1. So, what did I think about this comic? So, obviously, there was some problems with the quality of the story and the writing. It totally doesn't make sense for the bad guy. hired these guys to attack his base, and he successfully repels them, and decides to brag about it to their faces. He could have not done that, and a mission would have been accomplished, right? Because they were going to leave, because they were like, what the fuck? This guy knows who I am. We've been set up, right? So it's like, really, that was really, really stupid of the villain to do that. And there was some problems with the art here and there. There was some problems with this guy and his size changing abilities, but overall, and then there's also problems. The characters kind of are. You have characters who are kind of like clones and rip-offs of other characters, right? From Marvel, right? Which Rob Liefeld, before he went to Image, worked for Marvel, right? That's how Image got started. Is that they were like 7 guys who decided to leave Marvel to create their own comic book company, hence Image, right? And I have a soft spot for 90s Image comics, because for people who don't know, I started, my first comic books I ever read were 90s Image comics that I probably wasn't appropriate for me to read, but my parents gave it to me anyway, right? Oh, and they sure, yeah. And I got some nightmares, but you know what? The comics were still cool. So I have a soft spot for 90s Image comics, right? Overall, despite its problems, I enjoyed the comic book. It was fast-paced, lots of action, cool characters, right? But yeah, as far and overall, I thought the art was good. Even though there was some problems here and there, I like the art. The art's fine. But yeah, I don't know if I can recommend this, but I think overall though I like the comic book, and I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. Yeah, so that's it for this review, guys. My next review is going to be Pit Issue 2, which is going to be either on Friday or Saturday. So look